I asked my staff to announce this press conference today, and the purpose of this press conference is to address community concerns regarding a recent story that was aired, as well as a lot of conversations that are happening in our community concerning one of our facilities and how that facility is being used and has been used in the past. So I'm going to ask Deputy Chief Myron Daniels to provide a report on that.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, all. Again, my name is Deputy Chief Myron Daniels. I'm Chief of Staff. Thank you for coming out this afternoon. The building that has sparked some questions, I will provide some historical information regarding it. That building is a building owned actually by a city parish. For approximately 20 years, the narcotics processing facility has been used by various detectives within the narcotics division. Very familiar with this facility, that I can honestly say thousands of suspects have been processed in over the years. I was shocked to hear the name Brave Cave. That was the first time I've ever heard of such a name, and surprisingly, that was also the first time that most of the staff and officers throughout the police department that we checked with had ever heard of. I have since come to learn that it is a term used by some of the officers within this unit to refer to the facility. The processing facility is used by several investigative sections within the Baton Rouge Police Department. This includes street crimes, HIDA, other task forces, and divisions. It is the policy of the Baton Rouge Police Department that no narcotics, guns, seizures, money, arrestees, nor confidential informants are brought to the daily offices of these covert units. The processing facility allows space for detectives to process evidence and arrestees, and is also equipped with a holding area to secure them. There is also an attached bay that allows for large storage for seizures. Now, I would like to assure this community there is nothing secretive about this narcotics processing facility. As of date, I said the first half of this year, one unit within our organization has processed right about 350 individuals themselves. And last year, there was approximately 650 people processed at this unit. Now, in association to this facility, the association of this facility came about with a recent case. It all stemmed behind an investigation into arrest of 5 suspects relative to guns as well as narcotics. It began when our street crimes detective actually apprehended arrestees that fled a home in the Zion City area. Those suspects, when arrested, were discovered to be in possession of marijuana, fentanyl, and firearms. The BRPD Special Response Team was later utilized and did execute a search warrant at this residence. That search warrant actually yielded marijuana, heroin, crack cocaine, methamphetamine, hydrocodone, U.S. currency, and 6 guns. That case has recently led to allegations of use of force. That allegation is currently being investigated by our Internal Affairs Division in accordance with our established policy. Just some notes and a timeline as far as some of the things that have occurred. We recently received a complaint involving one of the officers associated with that case. That complaint came in as early as August 11th. It was followed up by the supervisor who actually took the complaint on August the 13th. That supervisor wrote a letter to Internal Affairs to have that case investigated. On August 14th, there was a letter of request put in to have that officer transferred from the unit. From the administrative side, involved in that case, the officer involved was placed on administrative leave on the 14th. On August 24th, the chief actually signed a pre-termination hearing notice for that officer. And on today's date, that officer actually submitted a letter of resignation, which the chief did sign. That is the background of our narcotics processing facility, as well as the personnel questions that have recently arose. Based on that, I will take a few questions and we'll move on. So, questions? Ma'am?
So this was the first time you ever heard of Brave Cave?
Yes, ma'am. It's the first time any of the staff had heard of it. It was only through conversation with those that supervised that unit did we find out that there were a limited amount of officers who actually used that terminology to describe the facility.
There was a lawsuit recently about Jeremy Lee, who's the suspect in all this, and in the lawsuit it said that it was called a torture warehouse. Do you have any comment on that?
Well, for obvious reasons, we are not allowed to comment on pending litigation, so we will not be able to comment on that.
To your knowledge, is there any kind of oversight in that facility, meaning for officers that take suspects there, do they have to get any kind of prior authorization, or is there any kind of record that's filed when they take people there for questioning?
No, there is no necessary authorization needed. It's used by those units. That is, was and has been established as a process through their chain of command and also the department. And there are the use of surveillance equipment and, closed circuit cameras, as well as body cameras that are used to document their time in that facility.
Are there cameras inside that actual garage? Because the video that we see, there's roll-up doors, there's a concrete floor, that's a garage.
Now that I don't have the specifics of. Chief, could you answer that?
Sure. I took a walk through it yesterday. There is cameras in that bay area that's right behind the front part of the office. There's cameras in the evidence processing center. That's where the officers will process evidence. There's cameras in the holding facility, the holding cells, as well as at the front door. And just about anywhere in that, there is a camera to capture all activity.
Are there blind spots with those cameras?
I didn't see any blind spots. If you recall, this is the same facility that has been used by a narcotics unit for decades. There was an audit that was led by Deputy Chief Noel as a result of the narcotics investigation that we had, where several of our officers were arrested and subsequently some were terminated and some resigned. Based on that audit, we made sure that camera system there covered all points of interest in that facility.
You all said that the first time you all got an IA complaint was in August this year. We had an email that showed there was an email from someone with BRPD to that attorney saying that they had gotten the complaint. This was dated April 25th.
I'm sorry, say that again, sir.
There was an IA complaint that had been filed prior to August because we have an email from someone within BRPD to that attorney saying we have received your complaint. That was dated April 25th.
Yes, and I directed my IA commander to look into that and make sure that we do a thorough investigation on all those who were involved in that incident at the facility, which will include a review of all body cameras as well as an interview of all those who were there, so that we can present our findings to the complainant, which is our standard policy. Upon conclusion, he will be notified.
Right, but you all said the complaint came in August. That's April.
Yes, sir.
So not August.
No, this is a new complaint. I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is a new complaint.
Yeah, I'm saying we had a
It's-
prior complaint that came.
That is
in.
correct. That is under investigation.
Okay.
This is a new complaint that we're talking about. That is separate from the one you're talking about. This complaint, I received a letter from the supervisors concerning the officer and not responding to training and basically not wanting him in the unit anymore. And at that point, I immediately placed that officer on administrative leave and initiated the process for termination.
So you're saying that prior complaint was still being investigated at this time?
That is being investigated. That is correct.
Okay.
Your response, Chief, to Baton Rouge upon hearing there is this torture warehouse, according to this lawsuit, those are the words that they used, for the people of Baton Rouge. What do you think?
Well, I don't think we ever talked. I walked in a facility. I saw the videos that are there, the officers that are going there. So those words to describe that. We will investigate this just like we investigate all other complaints. I think the community understands that we've showed accountability. We've been transparent. That's one of the reasons we're having this press conference today. But we're going to investigate that. And at the conclusion of our investigation, a lot of questions will be answered. And we will educate the public on our findings once we complete that. But I assure you that there will be a thorough investigation involving this here. But to describe it at that facility like that, like was stated earlier, we have thousands of officers who have processed individuals who we've arrested for narcotics through there. There are some things I saw that I would like upgraded. I immediately suspended all operations at that facility until we can make some changes, Karen. So some of the changes that I've directed my staff, some lighting on the exterior, as well as a construction to put a interview room that is consistent with the interview rooms that we have here at headquarters, as well as at our violent crime unit. We have interview rooms there set up, and that we're going to construct an appropriate interview room so that those interviews can be done in a proper way.
So eventually the room will, this building will be continued to be used?
Once the modifications are made, once my staff and I are satisfied with that, and when we believe it's going to meet community expectations on how that facility should look, then yes, we will open it once we've had an assessment of that. Those changes should be done by September. We know some of them, we already having those conversations as it relates to some of the changes that I would like to see.
You all were adamant that there was nothing secretive about this particular facility.
Yeah.
You all, though, admitted that you all had first heard about Brave Cave, that people were using that as the name from our reporting. So is it fair to say that maybe there was some activity going on that you weren't aware of?
No, we are aware of the facility. I mean, the facility has been there, but the word Brave Cave, we have never heard before. In fact, when we received, when we actually listened to your broadcasts, obviously I asked, what's the Brave Cave? And it was then when we began to question that we learned, as the deputy chief stated, that there are some officers who refer to that office, which is our narcotics processing center, as the Brave Cave.
So they're using a secret name, though. Is it possible that they're carrying out secret activity?
I don't think so. I think the cameras that are there in some of the investigations that we've conducted as it relates to our narcotics unit, I don't believe that's the case, sir.
Chief, your
Yeah,
response
thank you.
to
Thank you.